All right. Hello, parents, guardians, and loved ones. I am back again to bring you another amazing professional industry expert, Mrs. Patricia Coleman, who I had the pleasure of working with honestly for just one short school year, but she made such an amazing impact on me that when I thought about an educator that I wanted to reach out to talk to you from her standpoint of what it's been like teaching through the pandemic and how we can set our children up for success, I reached out to her and she immediately was like, absolutely, what can I do? So I want to take this time to say thank you for coming out. And I just want to give you a minute to just introduce yourself before we jump right in.
All right, well, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Patricia Coleman. I have now been teaching I just completed my 20th year. A majority of that has been teaching kindergarten. Within that 20 years, I've taught first grade for 3 years. I'm back in kindergarten this past school year. Been married, actually celebrated my 20th anniversary on June 1st. And my son, 18, just graduated from high school Sunday. And then my daughter, she is 13. She will be going to the 8th grade. So that's just a little about me. I went to Xavier University in Louisiana. My original intent was to be a pediatrician. Well, after I took the MCAT, God revealed to me that that was not his plan. So I worked a little bit, and when I was working in the automobile insurance industry with Progressive Insurance through a family friend, she got me a job there, and I found out about the ACP program. And being that I wanted to be a pediatrician, I wanted to work with children, that just seemed like the natural thing. I had honestly never heard of the ACP program before. So I feel that was just God's way of putting that person in my life to show me the path that I was supposed to take. So I learned about it, immediately signed up for the program, and 20 years later, I am still in education, still loving educating children, and just trying to see what the future holds for me. But I enjoy it. I love it. I love it. It's my passion.
Awesome. So let me just say this really quickly, because educators, as you know, we love using acronyms. But for those that are out there that doesn't know what ACP stands for, can you just share what that is?
Yes, ACP stands for Alternative Certification Program. So it is geared towards people that have a degree already, and it does not have to be in education, but they want to go into education. So what it is I went through the Region 4 program. They do have different programs out there, but with Region 4, it was roughly about a year and a half. I went to classes. I went to observations of educators in the school, and then they kind of showed me what to do, and they kind of guided me as I prepared for the certification process, taking the tests. And so once I finished that for about a year and a half, then I was allowed to teach. And that first year I was on that probationary certificate until I passed my certification test. So once I did that, then I was fully fledged certified.
Awesome. Thank you. And that was a little side note, just because I like to make sure that people know what it is we're talking about. So let's go ahead and jump right in. As you mentioned, you've been in education for 20 years. Let's talk about what this past year and a half has been like. So tell us as parents, what in your 20 years, if anything, prepared you for teaching this past year and a half, Ms. Coleman?
I think the biggest thing was flexibility. When we left in March, thinking that we were going to be out maybe a week or two, it was a matter of, okay, now we got to learn this online form of, Google Meets and, meeting online and teaching through the camera lens. And so that was a learning process. But then when it extended, it was like, okay, so now I really have to get to these children and really teach them while they're sitting at home. So that was challenging in itself. I think that having a good team, so my team members and I, we collaborated a lot. We planned our lessons together. And so those first few months, it was a matter of just like recording ourselves, pushing those lessons out to the parents, but also being available to them. We did check-ins throughout the week. We did open sessions where the parents could, come on and chat with us if they had questions. We, worked with the kids. We had one student that she needed that extra little help. So we were doing small group, really going from being in the classroom to now teaching from home, but still trying to give quality instruction.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are back with Ms. Coleman. We had to fix some technical difficulties because I did not want you to miss anything that she had to say. And here's the thing, thinking about COVID and teaching in the midst of COVID with children with technology issues or being in rural areas. So what was that like from a teacher trying to support, especially with you with the babies?
It was hard because 5 and 6-year-olds, they need that in-person contact. So doing things through the computer, I'll be honest, was not my favorite. I didn't enjoy it. I like hands-on with the children, which they need at that age. So when we were coming back for the new school year, we started off online. I could not wait to get back in person. Even though we were in the pandemic, it was scary. It was the unknown. I still feel that age we needed to be in person. We did the meetings and they were on mute, so it was a lot of thumbs up, thumbs down. You couldn't have that interaction because it was too many kids trying to talk at one time, and it just wasn't conducive for them. So I think for that age group, in person was the best. And we still had a class that was virtual. And, speaking with that teacher throughout the year, it wasn't the easiest. She made it work. But I just know, me personally, that wasn't the way that I wanted to go.
Wow. So it's good to hear you say, because I think there may have even been this misconception that teachers may have preferred the online learning environment versus in person. And so to hear you say, as an educator, no, we wanted our babies back in the classroom. That's what I hear you saying, right?
Definitely. Because, the virtual, you're not reaching them the same. Again, like I said, kindergartners, when you're doing math, when you're doing reading groups, they need to be right there. And first, we have the technology that has the lag. You say something, you have to wait a moment for them to respond. You lose that connection. And so the only thing we laughed about it, the only thing we liked about the virtual was the schedule, because by about 2:45 we were done. But other than that, we wanted our babies in person.
Wow. That is so awesome to hear. And you keep using the term babies because, like you said, you worked with the kindergartners. And as you know, my passion was the younger babies as well, pre-K, kinder first. I'll tell anybody, those are the ones that have my heart. Yes. And so for those parents that have students that are either starting kindergarten in the fall, or even the ones that are matriculating to first grade, what can you talk to us about what we as parents can do to help our children prepare for the upcoming school year? Like, should I run to Barnes and Noble and buy a bunch of books? Should I get some online subscriptions? What do you say as, again, a veteran teacher who's been teaching for a couple of decades now? What do you say parents should do to prepare, as again, our younger population for school in the fall?
Okay. First, you don't need all the online. They're beneficial, nothing wrong with them. But, speaking from, I always go back when I talk to my parents and I talk about my mother. My mother was not a college graduate, but she was very, very hard on us about our education. She said that she wasn't pushed, so she pushed us. And she didn't have a degree to say, oh, I need to do this, this, and this. She spoke from what she thought was best. So we literally were at the library every Saturday. We were checking out books. We stayed at the library. We listened to the librarian do the read aloud. And, that was what started my love for reading. And so just little things like that. Nowadays, Dollar Tree, you need, for me personally, with kindergartners, a set of ABC flashcards, number cards, and you're good. My thing is having those conversations. It's not just about working in a workbook. Okay, can they do this? Yes, we want them to be able to write their name. Yes, we want them to be able to recognize the alphabet, but we also want them to be able to hold a conversation. So many times we see our babies coming in with that lack of vocabulary. I had a child one year went to lunch. She had never ordered a salad before, got the salad and asked me, Miss Coleman, why is it cold? She wasn't even aware that a salad was supposed to be cold. And when we do all these different testings and they test vocabulary, it just is so clear how many of them don't know simple vocabulary. So I think talking with your child, and not the baby talk, having conversations with your children, if you read a book, discussing that book afterwards, talking about different things in the book. Did they like the book? Why not? Giving reasons, having them explain themselves. It's all about that language development because they already are coming in at a deficit. And then we have to close this gap with all of these different things. They throw all these different things at us, but we still have to meet that child where they are. And so we have to give them that. And in order to give them that, we have to just be, aware of what they know, what they don't know. So my biggest thing is just the conversation. Yes, you can have the alphabet cards, the number cards. It helps. But I just think having that conversation, but also making sure you have a relationship with your child's teacher when they do go to school. Be present. Be present. It hurts me so when you see, and I mean, I can't blame them because, some parents, they're working however many jobs they're working. They're trying to provide the necessities for their children. Right. But still, those children need to know that you value what they're doing at school. You value the fact that they're getting an education, kindergarten or not. So also having that relationship and making sure that, you're working as a team to make sure that child is successful.
Right. Thank you. And again, I want to clarify something that you said as far as the gaps in learning, because what I want parents to be clear on is you nor I as an educator are saying that the children are coming in with gaps. What happens is the state has these bars where they're saying a child should be by this point and that point. Right. And so happens when, just to clarify, when Mrs. Coleman is saying the students come in with these gaps, as educators, oftentimes we do 3 major assessments a year. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
With beginning of the year assessment to see what they know the moment they walk into the classroom before instruction ever begins. We do a middle of the year assessment to see what the growth has been from the beginning of the year to about Christmas break or
Christmas time, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then there's an end of the year assessment to look at where they are as they're leaving that teacher. So when she talks about gaps, don't think this is Mrs. Coleman or Mrs. Holcomb saying that your child has a gap. What we're saying is the states, the districts, the schools themselves, based on whatever the state standards are, whatever the guidelines are for each grade level, says this is where a child should be, right, according to this developmental standard. And exactly. Again, we understand that not all children start off at the same place. And what I know is really awesome about educators like Mrs. Coleman is her mentality of taking that student wherever they are from that point to the next level. And so in transitioning, Mrs. Coleman, I just want to talk about one time when I walked into your classroom and you had this sign on one of your cabinets about, I think it was the power of yet.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
can you talk to us as parents? Because again, if my child starts off the school year and I get that beginning of the year assessment and I'm like, oh, wow, they're not here, you know, tell us your mentality. And I've had the privilege of watching you do this with students and seeing how it lights them up. But can you talk about the power of yet that even we as parents can incorporate when working with our children?
Yes, it is definitely just letting a child know that although they may not know this particular skill at this particular time, that just means that they don't know it yet. They're going to know it, but they just don't know it yet. And so that's where that, it comes in with that motivation and that encouragement and that praise, because letting them know that, okay, you're here right now. And yes, they want you to be here. You're just not there yet. And we're going to do everything we can to get you to that point. So it, involves also just making sure. Well, let me just backtrack a little bit. I'm very big about, because we just talked about, the state requirements and what they require of the children. I understand that as an educator, that that's what they want us to do. They want us to get them to that point. But what I always tell my parents is, I'm not basing everything on what they're looking for. Because if I see a child, they come in, okay, they may not know this. I'm going to let the parent know, okay, yeah, this is where we're supposed to be. If we don't get there, I'm not stressing. I'm not going to put stress on the parent. I'm not going to put stress on the kid. I'm not going to put stress on myself. We are going to celebrate wherever they finish. Yes. So, I'm very big about, okay, they want them what they call a level 4 reading level. So, in education right now, level 4 is basically, it's a short story, not too many pages, and they are required to retell that story by the end of reading it. Up till level 4, the other books have a pattern to it. So most children are able to pick up on that pattern. But by that level 4, there's no pattern. They have to look more using picture clues, in the pictures to try to figure out some words on the page. And some children, honestly, they don't make it to that 4. And I like to let my parents know that's okay. Let's look at where they started. If I had a baby come in that didn't know all their alphabet, knew a few letters in their name, maybe couldn't write their name properly, by the end, maybe they made it to the 3, maybe even just the 2. But they know all their letters, they know all their sounds, they know. That's okay. We're going to celebrate the fact that they went from here to here. And so that's kind of where that yet comes in. Okay, they may not know it yet, but I'm also not pushing that child. That child doesn't know they need to make it to a 4. I'm not going to tell them that, because that's going to crush them if they don't make it to that level by the end of the year. We're just going to do baby steps, and we're going to go through where, okay, you know what? You don't know all your letters and sounds right now. That's okay. You don't know it yet. We're going to get there. So when they accomplish those letters and sounds, we celebrate, we motivate, we party, we cheer, we hug, we just go crazy because you reached a milestone. Okay, so now we're going to go to that next thing. Okay, so now we're going to try to see if you can read this book. Oh, but Miss Coleman, I can't. Okay, you can't read it yet. That's okay. We're going to keep practicing. So that whole thing of yet is just letting that child know that you may not know it right now, but you're going to know it. And Miss Coleman's going to do everything she can in her power to help you know it.
That is phenomenal. I love the power of yes, because one of the things that I look at, even now that I work on the university side, is when I was working directly with students, and you're talking about adult learners. Mm-hmm. To me, the power of yet is the difference between, as an adult, having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset.
Definitely.
And see, I really want to help parents understand that starting all the way down there with you, with the babies, with the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, we're teaching them through the power of yet how to have a growth mindset, how to be resilient, how to show endurance and grit. Because what I saw in working with adult learners, which I'm sure you've seen even in working with the babies, is when an individual gets to a place where they are not able to achieve success, if they see that as a roadblock versus a minor hurdle that they are able to overcome, then they just throw in the towel.
I agree.
What I love about your power of yet is without even saying, I'm teaching you to have resilience. I'm teaching you to have a growth mindset. I'm teaching you to be self-disciplined. You're teaching those things. And I really want parents to understand that that small 3-letter word, if you can introduce it to your child now, wherever they fall on the spectrum. Because what I say to people is, whether you have a child that has an identified learning disorder, identified gifted and talented, your run-of-the-mill students, they're all unique learners.
Definitely.
And all unique learners need to understand the power of yet. Because if I can see the power of yet, there's nothing that I can't accomplish, whether in school or out of school. So before we leave, your passion, I know, because I loved coming to your room, and oh my gosh, the collection of books that you have. Mind blowing.
I'm still always buying more.
I know. I like, seriously, I don't think there was ever a book that I thought I needed that you didn't have in your classroom. So I want to leave, and I really want to push reading, especially with the younger ones, because whether or not they can read the pictures on the pages, if we can instill that love of reading in them at an earlier age, and I'm sure you would agree, then that's going to take them oh so far in life. So, and I know this is putting you on the spot, but can you just tell us a couple of books that, you know, are some really good ones to start maybe adding to our collection, or just ways to get our children into reading at those babies? So when they come to you, because I know you used to do story time, and I know you still do. I know you still do. You got your rocking chair, your pointer, and your book.
Yes. Yes. Let me see. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking more, you know, I tell parents all the time at this age, picture books are key, because yes, the kids cannot read the words. They can't read the words on the page, but the pictures are really what's telling the story. And, you know, I always teach them, you can tell the story from the pictures. And then when Ms. Coleman reads the words, we always talk about, okay, do the words match what you're seeing in the picture? Yes, Ms. Coleman, it does. So picture books are key, and picture books where the pictures are truly telling the story. Eric Carle books are very good for that. Robert Munsch, he is my favorite children's authors. And Robert Munsch, I love him because his books, most of them are based on children that he's met when he's visited schools. So he visits schools and he'll maybe meet a particular child that just inspires him. And he writes a book based on that child, that personality or something that he sees in them. And his books are hilarious. They're like the over the top funny, you know, so the kids enjoy it, but they're truly telling the picture from that. So Eric Carle, Robert Munsch, let's see, Kevin Hanks. He's a good one too. Lily's Purple Plastic Purse is like one of my all-time favorite stories for children. So those, just really look for, I'm just saying, any picture books where the pictures are truly telling the story, where the children can look at those pictures and they can tell you what's happening. Because it's important that they realize, yes, those words are important, but I can tell, you know, I teach them from the beginning. Kids are always like, Ms. Coleman, I don't know how to read. Okay, well, tell me what you see happening in this picture.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, tell me what's happening next. And I say, well, you know what? You just read the book. And they're looking at me like, no, I did. Yes, you did, sweetie. I said, the pictures are telling the story. You just read it from the pictures. It's okay that you don't know the words yet. But right now, you just told this story by reading the pictures. So just looking for those good picture books and sitting down with them, and also letting them see you read. When you read stories to your children, they're understanding that whole thing about fluency. Fluency we teach is when a child is able to read, at that pace. I call it where they don't do the robot reading. So, they're not saying I see Bob. They hear that just fluid. I tell them fluency means your reading sounds like talking. So when they hear you reading a story to them, they understand what that fluency looks like, what it sounds like. So I encourage parents to read to your children all the time. That's where I think a lot of our brown babies don't get that in the beginning, because, the parents, kind of say, oh, well, we're reading to them. It's crucial. It's so crucial. So read to them, even if it's the newspaper. Just hearing that fluent reading is super important for them. But look for those excellent, like I said, those authors, they're awesome. But just look for those beautiful picture books, and look for those picture books, also some that represent us, so they can see themselves in the book and realize that, oh, okay, I can be a character in a story. You sure can. You sure can. So yes, definitely look for those also.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. Thank you, Mrs. Coleman. This has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You have my heart with the babies. You have my heart with reading. I just love your energy. Like I said, we didn't have an opportunity to teach together very long, but you made such a huge impact on me that here I am several years later, and I still stress the power of yet, even with my own children. If one of them comes to me and says they don't know something, I'm like, okay, what am I waiting to hear? And they're like, yet.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, because yet indicates it's possible. Because from a Christian standpoint of view, we teach our kids, I can do all things through Christ. So,
amen.
Yet.
Yes. And imagine, just think about what that does to a child. I mean, if you tell a child, oh, you don't know your letters, that's crushing.
Right.
Because you're telling them they can't do something. But if you just say just that one little word, you don't know your letters yet, that tells them, oh, but I can know. Oh, yeah. Okay. And that pushes them and motivates them to do that work. And, I'm very big about building relationships with kids. Yeah. And, a kid's going to work for you when they know that you love them. Yeah. So, it's super important to me to build that relationship, to let them know that, yes, Miss Coleman's going to be stern. I'm going to get on you when you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, but I love you. And I want you to be successful, and I want you to do good things, and I want you to be a great person. 5 and 6 year olds are not too young to hear what they can aspire to be, or what, we expect of them. I tell them all the time, I want you to be great adults. This is not just about school, and this is not just about learning your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. I want you to be a good person. Right. So, just teaching them that, and, just letting them know, okay, we don't know it, but you're going to know it. That pushes them, that motivates them. It really does.
Awesome. So parents, we are going to leave you with that. We want to leave you with the power of yet. Thank you so much again, Mrs. Coleman, for your time. Ladies and grandparents, please be on the lookout for our next industry expert. Have an awesome day, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye.